Good day and welcome to our group's presentation on inclusivity and neurodiversity.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
We are going into exam mode now, so please put away all books, all papers, all cell phones.
Get 2 more minutes, sir.
No, we don't have that time today. Right? Put away all the books, please. Right? Yes?
Sir, I need a book to press on.
No. I will provide you the papers, right?
Sir, wait. I do all this rushing here.
Young lady, you have to put away the books.
I'm putting it away. Sir, so you heard the music?
Okay, what should we do?
It's just like car passing. But it's loud.
Young lady, get out of the classroom now.
No.
You know what? I'm going to report this to the office. But you should not pay me not for this month.
You're right, sir. Something wrong with she. She's special. No problem. So look, she had said.
We now examine the school context. The schools at which we all teach at have quite large populations, from between 800 to in excess of 1,000 students. These students belong to diverse socioeconomic backgrounds and possess a wide range of academic abilities. The student-teacher ratio ranges from between 12 to 16 students per teacher. However, there are no special education teachers on staff, and while at one of the schools there are 2 teacher aides, they are assigned to one visually impaired student and another hearing impaired student. At all of the schools there are neurodiverse students. The most common conditions identified were dyslexia, autism spectrum disorder, and ADHD. Resources are limited for all students, but neurodivergent students face a complete absence of any resources put in place for technological and infrastructural support that they might need. Additionally, the strategic plans of the schools make no mention of any initiative that could foster inclusion within the school's population. We thus recognize that there is a significant gap that must be filled if our neurodivergent students are to thrive and develop holistically. We are driven to fill this gap because we recognize that inclusion not only benefits the neurodivergent but society as a whole, as it fosters empathy, understanding, and social acceptance. Neurodiversity describes the idea that persons experience the world differently. Driven by both genetic and environmental factors, it is estimated that between 15 to 20% of the world's population exhibit some form of neurodivergence. All means all, a statement made in the Global Education Monitoring Report of 2020. This means a movement away from segregated classrooms and an integration of all children within the same classroom. This represents a substantial paradigm shift. The attainment of inclusivity requires a systems approach. This means that there needs to be collaboration from a large number of stakeholders. De Paulo and Walter Thomas, 2003, recognized that the leadership of these stakeholders is vital if there is to be any improvement in the educational opportunities available to the disabled. For this assignment, we will be looking at 3 stakeholders: administrators, guidance officers, and teachers. We will now look at these 3 in more detail.
Administrators must ensure that their institution's policies are aligned with those international and national policies that promote the worth and dignity of all students. The creation of policies within a school that affirms the worth and dignity of all students, ensuring that each individual feels valued and supported, creates a humanizing approach which is essential to FAIR's critical pedagogy and supports a transformative, inclusive educational experience. Administrators must empower their staff. So Bolin describes the concept of teacher empowerment as involving the participation of teachers in shaping school goals, policies, and professional practices. Empowerment also aligns with FAIR's critical pedagogy theory in that educators should not be passive recipients of top-down mandates, but should actively engage in shaping their own practices. Educators must foster professional development through targeted training and workshops that effectively address key aspects of inclusive education. Professional development draws on constructivist principles by helping teachers build on their prior knowledge to develop skills in adapting curriculum and instruction. Administrators must actively promote reflective practices. Reflective practice encourages teachers to reflect not only on their actions and teaching strategies, but also on their underlying beliefs and identify implicit biases that might influence how they perceive neurodivergence. Munby 1984 and Richardson et al. 1991 indicate that professional development programs need to take teachers' beliefs into consideration. Reflective practices are linked to Dewey's theory of reflective thinking, which emphasizes that reflection bridges experience and learning. Teachers should foster collaboration. For example, by pairing teachers with diverse levels of experience of differing perspectives to encourage mutual learning and reflection. Bandura's social learning theory grounds this strategy. The theory posits that people learn by observing others. Administrators should implement programs that raise student awareness and understanding of the importance of inclusivity. The sensitization of students aligns with Freire's theory of critical pedagogy, which emphasizes the development of critical thinking to confront inequality and injustice by fostering an awareness of social issues and the need for social change. Administrators must use resources to provide teachers with specialized teaching materials, assistive technologies, sensory tools, and infrastructures, such as sensory-friendly classrooms, which provide calming environments to aid sensory sensitivities. By redistributing resources to support neurodivergent students, administrators address power imbalances, aligning with conflict resolution theories to promote equity in education. The approach reflects universal design for learning principles by fostering a flexible environment that meets diverse needs. Additionally, Vygotsky's theory highlights how such resources scaffold learning, helping students engage effectively within their zone of proximal development.
Out of all stakeholders, teachers are the ones who interact most with students, which means they play a vital role in promoting inclusion. UNESCO stated that inclusive teaching requires teachers to recognize the experiences and abilities of every student and to be open to diversity. They should participate in workshops to help sensitize and educate themselves, not just about neurodiversity, but also strategies that can be used to assist students. These strategies should be implemented and adapted according to each student's needs and use learner-centered approaches to help address the student's strengths and challenges. It all comes down to knowing your students. Once you know your students, then you can identify their learning processes. Things like positive reinforcement can also be used, such as using stickers and praises, which can help motivate and build that student's confidence. If teachers are properly sensitized, then they can identify students who could unknowingly be suffering from a learning disability. In a specific article concentrated on students with ADHD, they stated that in some countries, the teachers are the ones who are able to identify certain behavioral characteristics, such as inattention, misbehavior, or not following directions, and can then refer these students to the psych-pedagogical department. Now, of course, this is only possible if the teacher is well knowledgeable on neurodiversity. Now, this all ties in with Lev Vygotsky's theorem, which states that children develop cognitively via social interaction, and that learning is more effective when it's tailored to a student's zone of proximal development, also known as a ZPD, and also with the presence of a more knowledgeable person, also known as an MKO. Now, in this case, the teacher acts as that MKO. He or she can help educate the students and help them to understand their situation better. These students can now go and share what they've learned with their families, friends, and members of the community. To target a student's ZPD, teachers can implement differentiated instruction. They can use strategies such as scaffolding, flexible grouping, which can help develop the student's socialization skills, and also choose assignments that coincide with the student's learning process and abilities. Now, the MOE states that provision of the curriculum and assessment should always be tweaked to facilitate students and their needs. Once the relevant resources are available, then this can be done by simply modifying assignments, using special technology, or just providing visual aids. Now, the smallest and simplest changes can help a neurodiverse student. For example, in the 2022 International Conference on Inclusive Technology and Education, a study was presented comparing types of specialized fonts for dyslexic students and spacing as a factor of legibility. It was found that dyslexic students read text faster and make significantly fewer errors when the spacing is increased. Now, teachers can use this result and adjust their assignments for dyslexic students so that they too can complete their work independently, confidently, and to the best of their ability. At the end of the day, teachers must remember that these students are special and hence may require more time, more effort, and more patience. Once all these strategies have been implemented, teachers should always self-reflect. You need to find what works and what does not work, and continuously tweak and improve your teaching styles so that best method can be found so that all students can excel.
Guidance officers, as well as teachers, play a key role to help enlighten students on the different learning disabilities, as well as encourage all students to be courteous and helpful to everyone, especially persons with disabilities. Guidance officers can use language, speech and theory to foster better communication with neurodivergent students and encourage them to express their feelings of isolation. The ultimate goal of speech therapy is to help children reach their greatest academic potential. Guidance officers can use a differentiated instruction approach to offer therapies to neurodivergent students and based on their cognitive, emotional, social, physical, and behavioral attributes. The guidance officer can advise the teachers on the best methods to teach the child. Foster good communication between all relative parties. Health, family life, and education should be taught to all persons involved as it seeks to empower students with necessary life skills that will improve coping mechanisms and create a conducive environment for social, cognitive, and emotional development.
At the end of it all, as educators, we should ask ourselves why inclusion? The answer is quite simple, because of its positive effects. This is supported by Pietzman et al. 2001. Using matched pairs of primary age pupils in mainstream and special education classes, Pietzman et al. 2001 conducted a longitudinal study on the cognitive and psychosocial development of children with learning and behavioral difficulties and children with mild mental retardation. At 2 years, special needs students integrated in mainstream classes fared better than special needs students in special education classes. At 4 years, students in regular education had overall better academic performance than their special education counterparts. Research on the effects of inclusion for neurodiverse students show that there are definite positive effects when students are integrated in mainstream schools. This is further supported by Fitch 2003, whereby it was found that placement of students with disability either in special education segregated classrooms or in traditional but non-inclusive classrooms is associated with a lower feeling of capacity and lower self-confidence on their competence and academic performance. On the contrary, when students with disabilities were in inclusive settings, their self-concept, self-confidence, and academic performance increased. Now ask yourselves, what is the wider importance of educational inclusion? Well, it is not just about providing access to education. Educational inclusion is today seen as the basic process in combating social exclusion, and this is supported by the World Declaration on Education for All and Framework for Action, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the Dhaka Framework for Action. All of these place special emphasis on disadvantaged groups and clarify the significance of offering equal opportunities to all students to develop their learning abilities and have a real chance to find employment and avoid social exclusion, and contributing to the creation of a just and equitable society. As mentioned before, inclusion is a process. The shift towards inclusion should be viewed as an ongoing process rather than a fixed outcome, as schools can continually strive for greater inclusivity. Inclusion is not a final result but a journey of continuous improvement, where schools progressively enhance their ability to accommodate and support all students. To conclude, we will now see what can occur in a classroom when we engage in inclusivity via differentiated instruction, sensitization for all, and the proper allocation of resources.
Everyone, we are going to get the example now. So please put away all books, all papers, all cell phone devices. Yes?
Sir, get 2 more minutes, please.
No, we don't have time for that. Yes?
Sir, can I press on the phone, please?
No, I will provide you the papers, right?
Sir, okay. Sorry, boss. Sorry, I'm taking the time. Around, sorry. You okay?
Young lady, you okay?
Sir, do you think she's sick? I think she's right. So loud.
Okay, so then what? Yeah. You okay now? Sure, you're good? Okay. Alright guys, so I'm just start checking the papers. Make sure I put your name, your form class, dates.
And finally, inclusion is a fundamental democratic principle. To paraphrase Louise Porter, inclusion is not contingent on its feasibility or ease, but rather on the fundamental democratic principle that educational institutions must ensure all students have the right to inclusive education.